Admiral William Carter stood at the viewport of the International Space Station, staring into the endless void. Earth hung below, a blue marble against the black canvas of space. It was peaceful, until it wasn't. The first signal came on a Tuesday. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez was monitoring radio transmissions at the SETI outpost in New Mexico when her equipment picked up something unusual. Not the random cosmic noise they typically received, but structured pulses coming from somewhere beyond Mars. "This can't be right," she muttered, adjusting her equipment. The pattern continued, growing stronger. Lisa's hands trembled as she reached for her phone. Within hours, observatories worldwide confirmed the signal. Within days, the pattern had been analyzed by computers at NASA and the European Space Agency. There was no denying it. This was artificial. This was intelligent. "It's not random," Lisa explained to the hastily assembled team of scientists and government officials. "These are mathematical sequences, prime numbers, the value of pi, universal constants." General Frank Miller, representing the Joint Chiefs of Staff, leaned forward. "Are you telling me we're receiving a message from aliens?" "I'm telling you we're receiving a message from someone who isn't us," Lisa replied. The signals continued for weeks. Cryptographers and linguists worked around the clock to decipher their meaning. Gradually, patterns emerged, words formed, sentences took shape. Dr. Alan Scott, head of the newly formed First Contact Analysis Team, delivered their findings to the United Nations Security Council on a rainy Friday morning. "We believe we've translated approximately 60% of the message," he said, his voice steady despite his lack of sleep. "It appears to be from a civilization calling themselves the Vordax." On screens around the chamber, translations appeared. Asterisk attention inhabitants of Third Planet. Your star system now falls within Vordax expansion territory. Prepare for evaluation and classification asterisk. "What does that mean, classification?" asked the French ambassador. Alan adjusted his glasses. "Based on subsequent communications, we believe they categorize species according to potential usefulness." The Chinese representative frowned. "And the consequences of this classification?" "Unknown. But the tone suggests this isn't a friendly cultural exchange." 3 months after the first signal, astronomers detected an object entering the solar system. It moved at impossible speeds, slowing as it approached Earth's orbit. The media called it the Visitor. Military channels called it Potential Threat Alpha. The Visitor parked itself in geosynchronous orbit above the Pacific Ocean. It was sleek, cylindrical, approximately 2 kilometers in length. World leaders convened an emergency session, while military forces worldwide went on high alert. Markets crashed. Religious leaders proclaimed everything from apocalypse to salvation. People stocked supplies and waited. When the Visitor finally transmitted, it was directly to Earth's broadcast systems. Every television, radio, and internet connection carried the same message. "I am Ambassador Zixtal of the Vordax hegemony. Your world has been identified for incorporation. Resistance is unnecessary and wasteful. Your species shows potential for basic labor functions." President Helen Daniels addressed the nation that evening from the Oval Office. "We have attempted to establish peaceful dialogue with the Vordax. However, we cannot and will not accept terms that reduce humanity to servitude." Behind closed doors, the United Defense Coalition formed. Representatives from every major military power gathered in a bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains. "They've given us 30 days to surrender," General Miller told the assembled leaders. "After that, they've promised to demonstrate their technological superiority." "Then we have 30 days to prepare," replied Admiral Carter. Lisa Rodriguez, now working directly with military intelligence, looked up from her tablet. "I found something in their transmissions. Inconsistencies in how they describe their own capabilities. I think they're bluffing about some of their technology." For the first time in human history, all nations united against a common threat. The clock was ticking, but humanity would not go quietly. The Vordax ship remained in orbit during the 30-day grace period. Each morning, Earth's citizens would look up at the sky, knowing the alien vessel hovered above, invisible to the naked eye, but always present in their thoughts. Inside the Pentagon's secure conference room, UDC representatives gathered around a holographic display of the Vordax ship. John Miller, former Navy SEAL turned diplomat, studied the rotating image with narrowed eyes. "We've analyzed every transmission," said Dr. Susan Woods, sliding data tablets across the table. "The Vordax believe they're being generous by offering protectorate status." General Ryan Peterson slammed his fist on the table. "Generous. They're demanding we dismantle our military and provide them with our natural resources. They see us as primitives," Susan explained. "In their hierarchy, technologically developing species serve advanced ones. It's their natural order." On day 15, Ambassador Zix Tall requested a face-to-face meeting. World leaders debated furiously before agreeing to send representatives to a neutral location, the International Space Station. John Miller and Susan Woods prepared to represent humanity. As their shuttle approached the station, Susan stared at Earth below. "Beautiful, isn't it?" John said. "Worth fighting for," she replied. The meeting chamber had been modified to accommodate the Vordax physiology. When the alien delegation entered, both humans struggled to maintain their composure. Ambassador Zix Tall stood nearly 8 feet tall, with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. His eyes, 3 of them, blinked independently. "Your species has potential," the ambassador began, his words translated through a device at his throat. "Many civilizations benefit from Vordax protection. You will be treated fairly according to your classification." "And what classification would that be?" John asked. "Category 3. Developing intelligence with limited space capability, suitable for resource extraction and basic manufacturing." Susan leaned forward. "Ambassador, we appreciate your offer, but humanity does not wish to surrender its sovereignty." The ambassador's middle eye narrowed. "This is not an offer. This is notification. The hegemony has claimed this system." "Earth claims Earth," John said firmly. "We reject your terms." The meeting ended abruptly. As they returned to Earth, military satellites detected energy fluctuations around the Vordax vessel. They were powering weapons systems. In an underground facility beneath the Nevada desert, scientists and engineers worked around the clock. Dr. Eric Barnes led the team analyzing Vordax transmissions. "There's something here," he told Major Kelly Adams, pointing to energy readings. "Their communication systems operate on quantum principles, but there's a vulnerability when they transmit to their home world." "Can we exploit it?" Kelly asked. "Maybe, but we'd need to get closer to their ship." On day 28, President Daniels addressed the United Nations. "We have attempted peaceful negotiation. We have offered cultural exchange and mutual respect. The Vordax response has been unwavering. Submit or be conquered. Humanity's answer is equally clear. We will not surrender our home." Around the world, civilians received emergency broadcasts with evacuation procedures. Military units moved into predetermined positions. Orbiting satellites were repositioned to create a defensive grid. Ambassador Zix Tall's final communication came on the 30th day. "Your resistance is noted. The hegemony will now demonstrate the consequences of defiance. After sufficient example has been made, we expect your swift compliance." Admiral Laura Reed watched from the bridge of the aircraft carrier USS Independence as fighter jets launched into the dawn sky. Similar scenes played out across the globe as Earth's combined forces prepared for humanity's first interstellar war. "They think we'll break easily," she told her executive officer. "They don't understand humans very well." In orbit, the Vordax ship's hull began to shift, panels opening to reveal what could only be weapon ports. The ultimatum had expired. Earth's first battle for survival was about to begin. The Vordax attack began with silence. Earth's communication satellites stopped transmitting one by one. Television broadcasts cut to static. Internet connections failed worldwide. "They're taking out our eyes and ears first," Captain William Bennett said from his command post, at the Aegis space station. Through the viewport, he watched as a small object detached from the Vordax ship and accelerated toward Earth. Target identified. Call his tactical officer. Trajectory suggests it's heading for the Pacific Defense Grid. William grabbed the station's comm system. All units, this is Aegis Command. First strike incoming. Stand by for defensive measures. The object split into dozens of smaller projectiles as it entered Earth's atmosphere. These weren't bombs, but precision strikes against military installations. Within minutes, naval bases across the Pacific reported direct hits. In her underground bunker at NORAD, Commander Kate Russell watched with growing horror as defense systems worldwide reported failures. The Vordax weapons emitted something that overloaded electrical systems before impact. "What are we dealing with?" she demanded. Her chief scientist pointed to the readings. "Some kind of targeted electromagnetic pulse, but more advanced than anything we've developed. Can we shield against it?" "Not yet. But look at this." He highlighted an anomaly in the data. Their weapons emit a specific radio frequency before discharge. The pattern continued for 6 hours. Vordax projectiles targeted military installations globally while avoiding civilian populations. They weren't trying to exterminate humans, just disarm them. Space Station Aegis remained undetected, hidden in the shadow of a supply satellite. William gathered his team of 20 specialists, all that remained of Earth's orbital defense force. "They think they're being merciful," he told them, "neutralizing our military without civilian casualties. But this is just the first wave." On Earth, Kate Russell worked with a team of scientists to analyze the frequency pattern preceding each Vordax attack. They discovered something unexpected. The alien weapons briefly became unstable when exposed to specific radio wavelengths. "It's like hitting the right musical note to shatter glass," explained Dr. Ryan Foster. "At this frequency, their energy weapons experience momentary feedback." Kate immediately relayed this information to all remaining military units. Earth's first counterattack would use this weakness. The Vordax launched their second wave at dawn. This time, larger vessels descended toward major cities. Their mission had shifted from disabling military targets to establishing control points. William Bennett watched from Aegis as a squadron of retrofitted fighter jets rose to meet the alien ships above New York. The pilots had one advantage: surprise. The Vordax clearly expected no significant resistance after their first strike. "Broadcasting disruption frequency now," the communication officer announced. On their screens, they watched as the jets approached the Vordax vessels. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then one alien ship faltered, its shields flickering. "It's working," someone shouted. The fighters fired missiles at the vulnerable target. The Vordax ship erupted in a flash of blue light, debris raining down into the ocean safely away from the city. Similar scenes played out across the globe as Earth's remaining forces employed the same tactic. For every 5 Vordax ships destroyed, Earth lost dozens of aircraft, but it was enough to halt the invasion temporarily. On the Vordax command vessel, Ambassador Zix Tall received reports of the unexpected resistance with disbelief. "Impossible," he hissed. "Their technology is primitive." His second-in-command displayed the battle data. "They have identified a weakness in our primary systems. This species adapts quickly." Zix Tall's eyes narrowed. "Recall our forces. We must reconfigure our approach." As the Vordax ships retreated to orbit, cheers erupted in command centers worldwide. Earth had won the first battle, but William Bennett and Kate Russell knew the truth. This was just the beginning. The Vordax would return, and next time, they would be prepared for humanity's tricks. The temporary victory gave Earth precious time. In underground facilities across the planet, scientists worked frantically to understand and adapt Vordax technology. Dr. George Martinez led the largest team at a former nuclear research facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. "Their weapons operate on principles we've only theorized about," he explained to visiting military officials, pointing to salvaged components from a downed Vordax vessel. They manipulate quantum fields to create directed energy bursts. Lieutenant Olivia Hayes nodded, though she only partially understood. Her job wasn't to comprehend the science, but to coordinate the global defense network. "How long until we can replicate this?" she asked. "Replicate? Years, maybe decades," George replied. "But adapt our existing technology to counter it. We're making progress every hour." In a separate wing of the facility, Daniel White hunched over a cluster of supercomputers. 3 weeks ago, he had been designing video games. Now the former software engineer was creating the most sophisticated predictive AI ever built. "The Vordax follow patterns," he told Olivia during her inspection. "Their attack formations, communication protocols, even their retreat. They're all programmed responses. If we can predict their next move, we can be waiting for them," she finished. Daniel nodded. "Exactly." Above ground, humanity transformed. Manufacturing plants worldwide shifted to war production. Former rivals shared intelligence and resources. Children practiced drills while their parents trained with newly developed weapons. 17 days after the first attack, orbital telescopes detected movement. The Vordax fleet was reorganizing. Their main vessel had moved behind the moon, but smaller ships were taking up new positions. Admiral Jack Wilson assembled the Joint Chiefs in the Pentagon's remaining operational war room. "They've adapted," he announced grimly. "Our radio frequency disruption won't work again. Intelligence suggests they've completely reconfigured their shielding systems." General Maria Lopes studied the tactical display. "What about the new pulse cannons?" "Dr. Martinez says they're ready, but untested in combat conditions." In the tense silence that followed, a technician approached with a tablet. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from Daniel White's team." The AI prediction program had completed its first full analysis. According to its calculations, the Vordax wouldn't mount a direct assault this time. Instead, they would target Earth's remaining satellite network, then establish a blockade to slowly starve the planet of resources. "They're thinking long-term now," Olivia explained. "They realize we won't surrender easily, so they're preparing for a war of attrition." The UDC leaders developed a bold plan. Rather than waiting for the Vordax to strike, Earth would launch a preemptive attack. Using the cover of the moon, a small fleet of retrofitted spacecraft would approach the Vordax command ship and deploy Dr. Martinez's experimental weapon, a quantum pulse designed to temporarily disable Vordax technology. Captain Steve Johnson was selected to lead the mission. As he prepared his crew of 12 volunteers, he knew their chances of return were slim. "We're not just fighting for our lives," he told them during the final briefing. "We're fighting for our way of life, for the right to determine our own future." The mission launched under cover of darkness. Earth's remaining military forces prepared for their part. A coordinated global response the moment the Vordax command ship was compromised. What no one expected was the third player that entered the game. As the human ships approached the dark side of the moon, sensors detected new energy signatures. Another alien vessel had arrived in Earth's orbit. "Unknown ship detected," reported the mission's tactical officer. "It's not Vordax design." Before anyone could process this development, the new arrival opened fire, not on Earth's ships, but on the Vordax fleet. In command centers worldwide, humans watched in stunned silence as a completely unknown alien force engaged their enemy. Were these new arrivals allies, or simply a different threat with their own agenda for Earth? The adaptation phase had brought unexpected developments. The war for Earth had just become infinitely more complex. The mysterious third party disappeared as quickly as it had arrived, leaving both humans and Vordax confused. 3 Vordax ships had been destroyed, but the command vessel remained intact. The brief distraction allowed Captain Johnson's team to retreat safely to Earth with valuable intelligence data. 2 days later, the Vordax launched their full-scale invasion. Dawn broke over a silent New York City. The evacuation had left the streets empty except for military personnel. The first plasma strikes hit major power stations, plunging the eastern seaboard into darkness. Similar attacks occurred simultaneously worldwide. They're being more aggressive now, Commander Kate Russell observed from the rapidly deteriorating No-80 bunker. The unknown attacker made them nervous. Across her monitors, red dots appeared as Vordax landing craft deployed ground forces for the first time. Their strategy had changed. No more precision strikes. This was occupation. In Washington, D.C., a direct hit destroyed the Pentagon's East Wing. UDC leadership scattered to fallback positions. Communications became sporadic as satellite networks failed completely. Major Peter Clark led his squad through flooded subway tunnels beneath Manhattan. Above them, alien craft patrolled the streets. "Status report," he demanded, wiping grime from his face. "Boston has fallen," replied his communications officer. "Chicago under heavy assault. Los Angeles holding, but surrounded." Peter nodded grimly. "And the command center?" No contact for 6 hours. The darkest hour of humanity had arrived. Cities worldwide fell under alien control. Resistance forces retreated to rural areas and underground facilities. The Vordax established processing centers where they began cataloging human populations. In the underwater research station Poseidon, 50 miles off the Florida coast, Commander Peter Clark established a new resistance headquarters. The facility had been built for deep-sea research but now served as one of the few places safe from Vordax sensors. "Their scanners can't penetrate more than 20 meters of seawater," explained engineer Samantha Foster. "Something about the salt concentration disrupts their technology." Samantha had been developing stealth technology when the invasion began. Now her work became humanity's greatest hope. By studying Vordax detection systems, she discovered ways to mask human energy signatures. "We can move right past them if we modify our equipment correctly," she told the gathered resistance leaders. "They'll never see us coming." Peter leaned over the tactical display showing Vordax occupation zones. "We need to coordinate globally. Small strikes, gather intelligence, then disappear." For 6 weeks, Earth appeared defeated. Vordax administrators began implementing their extraction protocols, forcing human workers to mine resources. They established orbital platforms to process materials for shipment to their home systems. But beneath the appearance of submission, humanity prepared. Resistance cells formed in every occupied territory. Samantha's stealth technology spread through hidden networks. Weaponry based on captured Vordax technology was manufactured in secret facilities. In his personal quarters, Peter studied a map marked with potential strike points. A knock interrupted his planning. "Enter," he called. A young soldier appeared. "Sir, we've made contact with Agent Resistance. They've captured a Vordax communication hub." Peter's eyes widened. "Intact?" "Yes, sir. And Dr. Foster says she can reverse engineer it to access their network." For the first time in months, Peter allowed himself to smile. "Have our team in Australia reported in yet?" "An hour ago. Their mission was successful. They've secured the uranium deposits and hidden them from Vordax scanners." Piece by piece, humanity's counteroffensive took shape. While the Vordax believed themselves victorious, humans gathered strength. Children in occupied zones passed messages between resistance cells. Former enemies became allies in the face of extinction. In the Vordax command ship, Ambassador Zixtal received troubling reports of small equipment failures and missing patrols. His subordinates assured him these were minor issues, but doubt had taken root in his mind. On Earth, at precisely the same moment across every time zone, resistance leaders checked their watches. In 24 hours, the carefully orchestrated counteroffensive would begin. The Vordax believed they had conquered a broken species. They were about to learn how dangerously wrong they were. The counteroffensive began with silence. At precisely 300 hours Global Standard Time, resistance fighters using Samantha Foster's stealth technology infiltrated Vordax outposts worldwide. Guards disappeared without raising alarms. Communication relays were sabotaged. Supply depots were rigged with explosives but left intact. For now. Admiral Frank Patterson watched from the bridge of the submarine U.S. Defiance as the first phase reports came in. Converted to serve as a mobile command center, the vessel maintained position in the deep Atlantic Trench, hidden from Vordax sensors. "Green across the board," reported his executive officer. "All teams have achieved initial objectives." Frank nodded. "Begin Phase 2. Across the globe, resistance fighters activated portable jammers. For 8 crucial minutes, Vordax units couldn't communicate with their command structure. In those minutes, human forces struck. The Australian resistance hit the mining operations in the outback. The European coalition targeted processing centers. In North America, Special Forces units disabled planetary defense cannons the Vordax had installed. Aboard the Vordax command ship, alarms blared. Ambassador Zixtal rushed to the control center, 3 eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "What is happening?" he demanded. "Simultaneous attacks across all occupation zones," his second reported. "We've lost contact with 40% of our ground forces." "Impossible. These primitives were defeated." "Evidently not, Ambassador." On a Vordax troop transport hovering above what had once been Beijing, Captain Amy Wilson led her squad through maintenance shafts. Each soldier carried a device developed by Dr. Martins, a quantum disruptor that could temporarily neutralize Vordax neural implants. "Remember," Amy whispered, "we need captives for the next phase." When they reached the bridge, Amy activated the disruptor. The Vordax officers collapsed instantly. Her team moved quickly, securing the aliens and taking control of the ship. Similar scenes played out across Earth. Humanity had learned to operate Vordax technology, and now turned it against its creators. Captured vessels joined the counteroffensive, creating confusion in the alien ranks. The critical moment came when Dr. Elizabeth Johnson deployed her virus into the Vordax communication network. For months, she had studied their quantum encryption, finding a backdoor through their security protocols. "Virus uploaded," she announced from her station in the underwater base. 3 minutes until it reaches their command ship. Commander Peter Clark watched the tactical display as Vordax ships began moving erratically. Some fired on each other. Others drifted powerless in orbit. "It's working," he breathed. Admiral Patterson gave the order for the final phase. Humanity's small fleet of adapted spacecraft, hidden on the far side of the moon, launched toward the Vordax command ship. Leading the assault, Admiral Patterson stood on the bridge of the captured Vordax cruiser they had renamed Hope. Its alien weapons had been modified by human engineers to bypass Vordax shields. "We'll have one shot at this," he told his crew. "Their systems will adapt to our virus quickly." The battle for Earth's orbit was brief but fierce. Vordax vessels, confused by contradictory commands from the virus, couldn't mount an effective defense. The Hope approached the command ship, weapons charge. "Sir," called the tactical officer, "their shields are fluctuating." "Fire main cannon," Patterson ordered. The blast struck the command ship's propulsion system. As the massive vessel drifted, human boarding parties launched from the Hope. Among them was Peter Clark, leading the team that would capture Ambassador Zixtal. Fighting through the ship's corridors, humans encountered desperate resistance. The Vordax, realizing they faced defeat, fought with unexpected ferocity. Peter's team reached the command center to find Ambassador Zixtal attempting to activate a self-destruct sequence. A quick burst from Peter's weapon disabled the alien before he could complete the process. "Ambassador," Peter said, approaching the fallen Vordax, "your occupation of Earth is over." Within hours, human forces had secured the command ship and most of the Vordax fleet. On Earth, resistance fighters liberated detention centers and reclaimed occupied territories. The species that had arrived to conquer now faced the humiliation of defeat. Humanity had not only survived, it had emerged stronger, united, and in possession of technologies that would transform their civilization forever. Ambassador Zixtal sat in the converted conference room of the former United Nations building. 3 months had passed since his capture. The room, partially rebuilt after Vordax bombardment, now served as humanity's diplomatic center for interstellar relations. Across the table sat Benjamin Taylor, elected representative of the United Earth government. Beside him were Admiral Frank Patterson, Dr. Elizabeth Johnson, and engineer Samantha Foster, the architects of humanity's victory. The Vordax hegemony has authorized me to negotiate terms, Zixtal said, his voice translator conveying a tone that might have been humility. Benjamin leaned forward. This isn't a negotiation, Ambassador. This is notification of humanity's terms. Outside the window, captured Vordax ships hovered over the harbor, now piloted by human crews. In orbit, the former command vessel had been repurposed as Earth's first true space station. Your species has surprised us, Zixtal admitted. No Category 3 civilization has ever repelled a hegemony expansion force. Perhaps your categorization system needs revision, Dr. Johnson suggested. For weeks, the terms were discussed. The remaining Vordax forces would withdraw from the solar system. Technology transfers would be made as reparations. Earth would remain sovereign, recognized by the hegemony as independent territory. Most importantly, humanity demanded access to the galactic communication network, the vast system connecting civilizations across the stars. In his private office, Benjamin reviewed the final agreement with his advisors. They've agreed to everything, he said, sounding surprised. No resistance, no counter-demands. Admiral Patterson's expression remained stern. They're buying time. The hegemony spans hundreds of systems. This was just one fleet, which is why we need to send a message, Samantha added, not just to the Vordax, but to every civilization watching. The signing ceremony was broadcast worldwide. Children who had hidden in bunkers now watched as humans dictated terms to the aliens who had nearly conquered them. It was a moment of triumph, but Benjamin's speech struck a different tone. Today marks not an ending, but a beginning, he told the global audience. Humanity now stands at the threshold of a larger community. We enter this new era not seeking conquest, but we will never again be vulnerable. The following day, Benjamin authorized humanity's first transmission to the galactic network. Dr. Johnson had spent weeks deciphering its protocols, ensuring their message would reach the widest audience. From a new transmission facility built atop the restored Aegis station, humanity's declaration spread outward at light speed. To all civilizations of the galaxy, Earth has repelled the Vordax hegemony's attempt at conquest. We claim our solar system as sovereign territory. We seek peaceful relations with all species, but we will defend ourselves with absolute resolve against any aggression. The cost of testing our determination will be high. We advise against it. Attached to the message were select recordings of the counteroffensive, demonstrating how quickly humans had adapted Vordax technology and turned it against them. 6 months later, the first responses arrived. Some were congratulatory. Others were cautious diplomatic overtures. A few contained veiled threats. All acknowledged a new player in galactic politics. In the observation deck of Aegis Station, Benjamin met with Captain Amy Wilson, newly appointed commander of Earth's first interstellar vessel. The ship is ready, she reported. Adapted from Vordax designs, but improved by our engineers. Through the viewport, the sleek craft waited in its docking bay. Its hull bore Earth's new insignia and its name, Resolve. Your mission is exploration and diplomacy, Benjamin told her. But remember our position. We extend friendship from strength, not weakness. Amy nodded. The crew understands. We carry humanity's message to the stars. As the Resolve departed on its maiden voyage, children in schools across Earth studied newly created star charts. Military academies incorporated alien tactics into their training. Scientists reverse-engineered Vordax technology to develop medical breakthroughs and clean energy solutions. The invasion had merely destroyed humanity. Instead, it had unified and transformed it. Earth was no longer an isolated world, but a respected and cautiously feared member of the galactic community. Humanity's warning echoed across the stars. Beware our resolve. We will not be conquered. We will not surrender. We will prevail. I'd be happy to write an 8th part to this story, even though the original outline was for 7 parts. Here's part 8. 5 years after humanity's warning spread across the galaxy, Earth had transformed in ways few could have imagined before the Vordax invasion. The skylines of rebuilt cities now featured structures of impossible geometries, combining human creativity with alien materials. Children played in parks where gravity could be adjusted for recreational purposes. Medical centers used modified Vordax technology to cure diseases once thought terminal. Jane Cooper, granddaughter of Resistance hero Samantha Foster, walked through the Global Science Academy campus. At 16, she represented the first generation to grow up in this new world. She carried a data tablet displaying her latest project, improvements to the planetary defense shield. "You're late again," her instructor, Professor Robert Allen, noted as she entered the laboratory. "Sorry," Jane replied. "I was watching the ceremony." The professor's expression softened. Today marked the launch of humanity's 10th interstellar vessel. Named Pioneer, it would venture beyond previously explored regions, seeking new civilizations to establish relations with. "Did they mention your grandmother?" he asked. Jane nodded proudly. They dedicated the ship's engineering bay to her. In the 5 years since the war, Earth had established diplomatic relations with 14 alien civilizations. Trade agreements brought new technologies and cultural exchanges. Human adaptability had earned both respect and caution from older spacefaring species. Far from Earth, aboard the diplomatic vessel Harmony, Ambassador Kevin Harris prepared to meet representatives of the Zeltani Confederation, a powerful alliance of systems that had initially viewed Earth with suspicion. "Remember," his advisor whispered, "the Zeltani value directness. They consider polite evasion a form of deception." Kevin nodded. 3 years as Earth's representative had taught him the complexities of interspecies diplomacy. The door slid open, revealing 3 Zeltani delegates, tall, crystalline beings whose bodies shimmered with internal light. "Greetings, Ambassador," the central figure said, its voice resonating rather than speaking. "We have considered your proposal for mutual defense cooperation. And your decision?" Kevin asked directly, honoring their customs. "We accept. The recent Vordax expansions near our outer colonies concern us. Your species has demonstrated remarkable effectiveness against their tactics." This was significant news. The Vordax, though defeated at Earth, remained a powerful force in the galaxy. Their recent aggressive movements suggested they had not abandoned their expansionist ideology. Back on Earth, the United Defense Council met in their underground chamber beneath the Rocky Mountains. Holographic displays showed Vordax fleet movements across multiple sectors. General Linda Mitchell pointed to a cluster of red dots approaching a blue sphere. "The Vordax have begun operations near Alpha Centauri. Our colony there has requested additional defenses." Admiral Jack Peterson, who had served under Patterson during the war, studied the tactical display. "They're testing us, seeing if our resolve applies only to Earth or extends to our new territories as well. Then we should clarify our position," President Benjamin Taylor said firmly. "Prepare the Sentinel fleet for deployment to Alpha Centauri, and send a message to the Vordax hegemony. Our warning extends to all human settlements." In orbit above a distant world, aboard the explorer ship Resolve, Captain Amy Wilson received the update about Vordax movements. Her ship had discovered this uninhabited planet with resources valuable to Earth's growing industrial needs. "Adjust our schedule," she told her first officer. "We need to complete our survey and return to Earth 3 weeks ahead of plan." "The crew won't be happy about shortened shore leave," he replied. Amy smiled grimly. "I think they'll understand when they hear the news." As her crew worked to accelerate their mission, Amy walked to the observation deck. The unnamed planet rotated below, its untouched continents waiting for human settlement. 5 years ago, humanity had been fighting for its very existence. Now they were expanding among the stars. building colonies and forging alliances. The Vordax had intended to subjugate Earth. Instead, they had launched humanity into a new era of unprecedented growth and unity. If they sought conflict again, they would find not the primitive civilization they had once attacked, but a species that had taken its place among the powers of the galaxy, a species that had kept its promise. Humanity's resolve remained unbroken.